A few years ago, the Institute did a review of our program offerings. Were there any programs that were no longer utilized? Were there programs that we could add? I was on the committee that investigated whether to develop new programs. We realized that there were still many communities in our movement that did not have trained leaders. The rabbinic program and our leadership program both take significant commitment of time and energy, and many of our organizations are too small to pay professional leaders. And our volunteers all have busy lives. Many of our communities could not provide for the basic needs of their membership. Ceremonies celebrating birth, coming of age, bar mitzvah, marriage, and honoring and celebrating a person's life after death. Leaders in our larger communities also needed help with all of the work. Working with individuals around these important life events takes knowledge, both Jewish and secular, sensitivity it takes, compassion, tact, good humor, and skill. Other organizations in humanism offer certification and ordination with very little training. We felt strongly that both our members and our leaders deserved better preparation for our leaders, and better care for our members. We wanted our officiants to understand the basic ideas and philosophy of secular humanistic Judaism, the history and development of the various life cycles in Judaism, and how to create a meaningful and powerful ceremony. And in addition, some basic skills in dealing with the emotions and conflicts inherent in these significant times in people's lives. We wanted a program that could be completed in about a year or two. The success story of that evaluation is our officiant program. Our first graduate officiant who completed the program some months ago is Kate Forrest from Philadelphia Volksschule. Kate has held many leadership positions, both at Volksschule as the bar mitzvah coordinator and in the movement as the former operations manager of the IISHJ and the conclave coordinator for SHJ's youth group, HUJUs. Kate is a published writer. Her writing talent, good humor, compassion, and dedication to secular humanistic Judaism makes her a wonderful addition to our leadership corps. Tonight, we are celebrating the graduation of 3 students. I will introduce all 3 of them now and welcome them to come forward one by one to receive their certificate and share a few thoughts with us. The first graduate is Jacinda Bowman from the Secular Jewish Community and School in Oak Park, Illinois. Jacinda and her family joined the SJCS in 2011. She's been a board member since 2014 and a past president, reflecting her significant dedication to her community. In her recommendation, Elisa Lapine described Jacinda as having this wonderful ability to listen to others and help distill complicated and often diverse opinions. Her compassion for others is obvious. And I know many members of our community, this is Elisa speaking, including myself, have come to her for advice and guidance. Well, I too noticed Jacinda's calm, reflective, and generous nature in a recent class that I taught for the program. Our second graduate is Marla Davishoff from Kol Hadash Humanistic Congregation, our host community tonight. Marla participated in the first class I taught in the officiant program. We were 4 women studying philosophic guidance and counseling, and it was a stimulating, inspiring, and loving experience. Marla has been involved in the movement for many decades. She became a member when she lived in Madison, Wisconsin, and upon moving back to Chicago, she joined the Humanistic Jewish Community, then in Deerfield, and ultimately joined Kol Hadash Jewish community. As a Sunday school parent of sons with special needs, she worked closely with teachers and the principal to ensure that her children's needs were met. She became a member of the Kol Hadash School Board and then the steering committee. In her reference letter for Marla, Don Friedman, the then principal, described Marla as incredibly caring, empathic, articulate, and willing to stand up for her beliefs and opinions in a respectful manner. Marla is a strong leader. Her intelligence, combined with her ability to tackle complex and sensitive challenges, both personally and professionally, with competence, dedication, and grace, makes her an ideal leader at Kol Hadash and in our movement. Our third graduate tonight is Elisa Lapine, also from the secular Jewish community and school in Oak Park, Illinois. Elisa is no stranger to secular humanistic Judaism. She grew up in Cleveland and attended the Jewish secular community there. Her involvement as a young person inspired her to recreate her childhood experience for her family here in Chicago. Elisa is the founder and leader of the community. A psychologist by profession, Elisa has learned many of the skills to make her a remarkable leader. As Rivka Feinstein, a leader in Madracha in our movement, wrote in her recommendation letter for Elisa, she said, Elisa would be an excellent officiant. Her character traits and intellectual ability are way above par. Elisa's compassion, empathy, and reliability have been outstanding traits during her entire career. We are delighted to acknowledge Elisa's leadership in the movement tonight by formally celebrating her graduation from the Officiant program. How lucky we all are to honor these three stellar women at the first formal and in-person graduation ceremony for our Officiant program. Jacinda, we invite you to join us now, followed by Marla and then Elisa.
Hello, and thank you. A little less than 2 years ago, I began the IISHJ Officiant program in an attempt not only to learn more about secular Judaism and its history for myself, but more importantly, to become a secular Jewish officiant for my community, which currently does not have one. I did so in order that other secular Jews would be able to celebrate their most important life events with someone who understands their values and beliefs. I know how important this is to me for my own family and for the members of my community. I was not born or raised Jewish or within the Jewish tradition, but throughout my life, I was always drawn to Judaism. I was so drawn to the religion that in college, I sheepishly admitted to a Jewish friend my real desire to convert. She took me to Hillel House for Shabbat a few times, and I loved the beauty and the ceremony and the ritual. But I was continually stymied by the basic problem that I could not believe in God. Try as I might, I didn't feel moved by that aspect of Judaism or any religion, and I felt fraudulent trying. So I put my interest aside for a while. A few years later, though, I found myself married to a wonderful Jewish man. He was raised in a home that straddled the line between Reform and secular Judaism, primarily secular. He's ethnically and culturally Jewish, but he too was never religious. And finding a community when we were first married wasn't a primary concern of ours. But as everyone knows, when you've raised them, once you have children, everything changes. We were suddenly worried about where our children would experience and learn about their Jewish culture and heritage. There were temples, of course, but we had no desire to raise our children religiously or choose their religion for them. When I found that there was a secular Jewish community in our town, I felt like we'd been handed an unbelievable gift. But it wasn't just a gift for our children, it was a gift for me. I quickly fell in love with the way it afforded me an opportunity to continually learn about Judaism and the myriad of different perspectives found within it without a reflection upon God. I fell in love with how dedicated secular Judaism is to social action. I fell in love with the pride it instilled in my family about its heritage and its culture without feeling as though we were choosing the religious beliefs for my children. I simply fell in love with secular Judaism. It was everything I had ever been looking for, and it was my home. I joined the Officiant program as a way to give back to that community for everything that they had given for me and everything that they had done for my family. We should all have officiants available to us who can empathize with our most strongly held values, and I am proud to now be one of those people for my community. It is my wish that through such self-sustainability, secular Judaism will be able to thrive and grow into the future. I want the children now in Sunday school to be able to raise their children with the same wonderful experiences that my children are having. I want to know that there will be secular Jewish communities wherever my family may go in the future. And finally, I want to know that someday it won't take someone like me, and it won't take families like mine so long to find secular Judaism for themselves. I want to thank most of all Rabbi Shalom and Rabbi Jerris, who taught so many of our seminar classes and sections and who led us step by step through the program. I really particularly appreciate their attention to helping me with my improvements to my work. I wanted to thank all of the faculty members who taught the life cycle classes and brought so much experience and knowledge to their courses. I want to thank you especially to the secular Jewish community in school, particularly our leader and classmate, Elisa. Your constant support and love has been so meaningful. And of course, my children and my husband, who were so understanding, no matter how many times I said, I'm sorry, I have to attend this class, read my books, or write this paper. And no matter how many times I'll be with you in a minute turned into I'll be with you in a few hours. Your love and support and patience are my superpower. Thank you.
Since joining the secular humanist Jewish movement almost 30 years ago, I'm humbled and touched as I reflect back and realize I've personally experienced all major life cycle ceremonies as a member of this community. These ceremonies helped me to integrate changes throughout my life, not only into who I am as a person, but also as a member of the wider Jewish community. It wasn't just the actual ceremony that was transforming, but also the writing and creating of them that helped me to explore the meaning behind various milestones in my life. The ceremonies also reminded me of my greater connection to humanity and to the Jewish communities I call home. At one point in my life, that was Beth Orr and Rabbi Dan Friedman. Rabbi Friedman said something at my first wedding that resonated with me so much that I repeated it at my children's baby namings and then again at their bar mitzvahs. You are here today because of generations in love and light that preceded you, and you in turn are the promise of generations to come. His words grounded and continue to ground me to the deep connections life cycle ceremonies have to my past, present, and future. It reminds me that whenever I honor a milestone, that I'm connected to something larger than just myself. The second SHJ community I joined was Achavara in Wisconsin. I want to thank the late Ruth Feldman, who helped me write the baby naming ceremony for my son and drove up to Madison, along with her husband Gil, to officiate it in my apartment. As a madrika, Ruth also inspired me as a teacher and mentor, encouraging me to submit some of my essays to the SHJ Journal, which were later published there. The Jewish community I now call home is Kol Hadash. And I want to thank Rabbi Adam Shalom, who taught me how to balance letting others lead and create their own ceremonies while maintaining structure and integrity. He ushered my boys through their bar mitzvahs, giving them the extra support they needed without compromising their independence. Rabbi Adam was also there for my family when my father died, visiting at home, and officiating at his funeral. Watching him, I again learned how to incorporate Jewish philosophy and tradition into ceremonies while respecting individual choices and beliefs. Being an active participant in creating these ceremonies at my 3 SHJ communities inspired me to want to help others find meaningful ways to mark transitions in their lives. I'm not the same person who 4 years ago applied to the Officiant program, but I'm here today with the strongest thread of my evolving tapestry being the stitches that link me to my Jewish identity and community. My professional work as a psychotherapist also inspired me to become an officiant. I've witnessed how marking milestones can help validate feelings, provide support during times of transition, and connect our personal journeys to the larger one we're on together called life. I also have a special interest in end-of-life rituals. And as a part of my work these past 4 years, I researched and wrote 2 services about this. The first, called Alternate Endings, which is based on an HBO documentary by the same name. And the other is coming up in May, Thinking Up Outside the Box, about non-traditional funerals. I strongly believe in empowering individuals to make their own choices, and my hope is that with the knowledge I gained in my studies, that I can better help clients and their families navigate these sensitive subjects. There's an irony to officially being officiated as an officiant here at tonight's ceremony. Throughout my 30-year journey with the SHJ, this is the one event that is mine alone. Yet I also stand here with a community of congregants, peers, and family. My hope as an officiant is to not only help members of the SHJ community honor milestones in their lives, but also use my knowledge to inform my work as a therapist. As a social worker whose practice focuses on the unique needs of older adults, I already help my clients navigate life's transitions. But now as an officiant, I can offer an additional presence for the memorials and funerals. Thank you once again to the IISHJ for offering this program and allowing me the privilege to become an officiant, and Rabbi Miriam Jerris for your kind words. I also want to give a special thanks to my family and friends for encouraging me on this journey. Once again, in Dad Friedman's words, I'm here today because of generations of love and light. And as an officiant, I hope to be the promise of generations to come. Thank you.
In the spring of 2003, my next door neighbor and I were talking about the dilemma we each faced with our 5-year-old sons and their Jewish identity. My neighbor had grown up in Kansas City in a conservative Jewish household, but no longer felt connected to that level of religious observance. I had grown up in a suburb of Cleveland, keeping kosher and understanding Orthodox rituals from my grandmother, but attending a secular Jewish Sunday school started by my own parents, Chuck and Shirley Lapine. So what about our own kids? Neither of us felt comfortable in the Reform or conservative synagogues with the focus on God and prayer. As non-believers, how were we going to give them a relevant Jewish education that focused on their cultural rather than religious identity? There were a couple of other Jewish secular and humanistic communities in the northern suburbs, but nothing near Oak Park. We decided to hold a meeting at our local library and find out if other folks were having the same dilemma. To our great surprise, 15 people showed up, mostly parents of young children, all interested in being part of a Jewish community that focused on our cultural and ethical heritage with a particular emphasis on social justice. From that meeting, with invaluable help from my favorite Yiddish teacher, who was also the executive director of the Congress of Secular Jewish Organizations at the time, Rivka Feinstein, we planned to host a potluck Passover Seder. We rented the basement of Pilgrim Community Church, the beginning of our commitment to using community spaces rather than owning our own building, created our own Haggadah, put up flyers around town. There was no mom mail then, and we waited. We were overjoyed when 77 people came to celebrate Passover. By September of that year, we had developed a curriculum, incorporated as a nonprofit organization, found our first home at WonderWorks Children's Museum, and opened our doors as the Secular Jewish Community and School of Oak Park. My commitment to building and loving SJCS for the last 19 years has fed me in many ways. One of the greatest joys has been creating community. There is something extraordinary in watching a new family join us for a holiday and be welcomed by many interesting, smart, friendly, funny, and curious members, so that by the end of the event, they feel they have found their Jewish home. Or welcoming a new baby by passing around a beautiful jar that we all fill with soothing oil and express our wishes and hopes for the newest member of our community. Or feeling moved by the extraordinary music from our own string quartet during our Kol Nidre program and sharing memories of the people that we've lost. Or loving the silliness of the adults performing our Purim spiel and the kids delighting in our homemade carnival. Or guiding our B'nai Mitzvah students as they work hard to prepare to be welcomed into the community as young adults. While I believe that we have been able to provide for many of the needs of our members, needs change over time. The older kids who started with us when we opened our doors are now launched and getting married. Many of us have lost parents and grandparents, and even a couple of our own members have sadly passed away. Listening is my primary job in my professional life as a clinical psychologist. Listening to what our community needs is probably the most important job I have as a community leader of SJCS. And listening to myself is probably the hardest job of all. I realized that I had my own wish to become legitimate and truly learn how to guide and lead our members through two vitally important life cycle events, weddings and funerals. I wanted to be able to respond to that need with confidence. With the help of Adam Shalom and Miriam Jerris and the faculty of IISHJ, the Life Cycle Officiant program has allowed me to take this step in my own development as a secular, humanistic Jewish leader. This entire journey would not have been possible without the support of my husband and partner of nearly 30 years, David Gilbert. He has sacrificed many hours and many Sundays, enabling me to realize my own dream, even if we didn't always share the same dream, while consistently lending his ear, his shoulder, and his extraordinary humor. Expressing his pride in me has been one of his greatest gifts. Being an amazing father to our now two grown sons, Seth and Ethan, has been the best gift of all. You guys are my world. I also want to acknowledge all the folks at SJCS, members, teachers, volunteers, organizers, who have enabled us to create a secular Jewish community and school for our own kids. I want to particularly acknowledge Gail Fisher, without whom my taking this latest challenge would never have happened. I consider myself extremely lucky to have so many supportive friends in my corner. The making of a community was certainly my wish when we began this great experiment in 2003. I wanted a place that would feel like home, a place where I didn't have to apologize for being a non-religious and non-theistic Jew, a place where I could be with others to celebrate my cultural heritage as well as my politics, a place where I could educate my children and give them a sense of belonging and feel special about belonging without feeling superior or chosen. A place that would nurture me as well as allow me to nurture others. A place where I could feel challenged to do more and say more and be more and act more. Becoming a life cycle officiant is now an integral part of that dream. Thank you.